Hello, welcome to MBC News, and you are with me, Evelis Chingambe. A look at our top stories. Government partners with the diaspora to tackle the country's growing urban housing crisis. The Public Accounts Committee extends the Amaryllis Hotel due inquiry for 1 additional month. And MBC analyzes how illegal parking and vending is causing traffic congestion in major urban centers across Malawi. Thank you for joining us. Now the news in detail. The Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development is banking on the diaspora community to address the growing housing challenges in the country's cities and towns. Aries Properties Managing Director Washington Jimuzu explains that the country needs an average of 20,000 housing units every year to address the housing deficit. Minister of Lands and Housing Chimamwe Chibungu acknowledges the housing challenge, but was quick to say that government plans to maximize partnerships with both the diaspora community as well as foreign investors to address the problem. We have a report by Trust Office.
Even though the country is blessed with vast land in all cities, towns and councils, access to housing remains a challenge as most people are struggling to access accommodation. The growing demand for housing in urban areas has also seen the cost of housing going up. A cross-section of people MBC has interacted with have acknowledged the challenge, with more others reporting fraud cases.
It is difficult, extremely difficult to find a house here in Malawi because of the expenses. And most of the times you have to use the agents, which are sometimes they show you a house which you wouldn't like.
Is it difficult to find a house in Lilongwe? Because being Lilongwe capital city, it's hard for someone to find a house.
Most areas near the town, you can't get a house easily.
Property manager, Aries Properties Chief Executive Washington Jimuzu attributed the prevailing situation to Malawi's position as a net importer of construction materials, which drives up the cost of construction and resultantly affecting the availability of housing.
So a typical construction contract, typically you get about 60 to 80% of that cost is just for materials alone. And again, not only is it because we're importing from outside, but there are other elements that go into it: taxation, transportation, handling, and all those other costs associated with bringing those materials into, and sometimes expertise into the country.
Whilst acknowledging the growing challenge, Malawi Housing Corporation Chief Executive Matthews Mazangati disclosed that the institution has received over 100,000 requests for housing in cities and towns, but is unable to meet the demand due to limitations of financial capital. Mazangati has, however, expressed optimism that the institution will implement key projects to address the challenge.
So basically what you're looking at is to also ensure that we're bringing in new innovations to the building environment, to ensure that we're building our structures using the affordable building materials, so that we are delivering that house within the minimum costs as much as we can.
Minister of Lands and Housing Chimamwe Chibungu highlighted that government is aware of the problem. However, plans are underway to partner with people in the diaspora as well as foreign investors to help address the problem.
As the ministry will try and also engage people from diaspora to construct flats, because we've got a policy now. Land is not increasing, population is increasing, so we cannot use the same land to accommodate the population that is increasing. But to curb that, if you build up, let's say 4 stories, 5 stories, that will suffice the problem.
As the country moves towards attaining a middle income status by 2030 based on Malawi 2063 targets, addressing the housing challenge remains key to ensure that the citizenry is accorded with affordable housing. Trust Office, MBC News, Lilongwe.
The Japanese government has pledged to continue supporting Malawi's education sector. The Japanese ambassador to Malawi, Naito Yasushi, said this during a visit to Tumbwe, Chilazulu, where he inspected Chikangulu Community Day Secondary School. The school was constructed in 2018 by the Japanese government. Simeon Shumba has more.
The Japanese ambassador to Malawi said since the school's completion, a number of learners have diligently pursued their education at the Community Day Secondary School, growing into responsible citizens and young leaders who now contribute to the economic development of the country. The ambassador has since hailed the communities around the secondary school for their strong collaboration and ownership of the school, which has helped the structures to remain intact and resilient.
We, Japanese government, do a lot of different development cooperation. But the small-scale grant scheme, we have a small-scale grant scheme. We've been helping schools, 40 different schools or so, building classrooms. We have supported the Chikanguru secondary school 8 years ago. And then it happened to be the constituency of Honorable Mona Veka. And he himself supported that project very much. And then today it is a great opportunity for us to actually see, after 8 years, how the school is utilized effectively and also maintained well. And also we could see the ownership, the very willingness of the parents and community leaders contribute to the project. That is a great opportunity for us.
For his part, Member of Parliament for Chiradzulu Tumbwe, Joseph Mwanamveka, said the school has contributed significantly to the development of the area since 2018. Mwanamveka, who is also Minister of Finance, said the school is assisting a lot of learners in the area who have been selected to this school since 2018.
As an MP or a Member of Parliament for Chirazo Tumbe, I'm quite excited and I'm happy that because today the ambassador for Japan came to visit the school which they built in 2018. At the same time, they also came to launch the construction of under 5 clinic, and at the same time early child development center. They want to build this particular place. So I would say I'm quite excited today. It's a historical day for us in the Chikangulu and at Masuku, because we are going to have not only the secondary school, we're also going to have an under 5 clinic. We're also going to have an early child development center.
Meanwhile, Mwanamveka has also launched the construction of an under 5 clinic in his constituency, which will be constructed with financial assistance from the Japanese government. Simon Zumba, NBC News, Chiradzulu.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has suspended commercial use of VIP lounges at Kamuzu International Airport in Lilongwe and Bakili Muluzi International Airport in Blantyre. A statement released by the ministry says the suspension will take effect this month on the 20th and shall remain in force until further notice. According to the statement, this measure has been instituted to allow for a comprehensive review of existing guidelines, operational protocols, and access criteria governing the use of VIP lounge facilities. However, the statement explains that access to the VIP lounges will be strictly limited to officially designated categories of users in accordance with established government procedures. It says while the suspension may cause inconvenience to previous beneficiaries, the step is very necessary to enhance efficiency, security, and overall integrity of of these facilities. The statement further says that the categories of eligible users of the VIP lounges at the airports include the President of the Republic of Malawi, spouse and immediate family members, the Vice President of Malawi, spouse and immediate family members, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chief Justice of Malawi, former Presidents of Malawi, former Vice President of Malawi, and Cabinet Ministers and Deputy Cabinet Ministers. The statement stipulates that Chief Secretary or Secretary to the President and Cabinet, the Attorney General, judges of the Supreme Court, as well as Malawi ambassadors and High Commissioners are among those designated categories of users of the VIP lounges. Speaker of Parliament Samir Suleiman has appealed to the Budget and Finance Committee and other committees to track the implementation of the 2026-2027 national budget to ensure it benefits local Malawians. Suleiman was speaking in Lilongwe when he opened a dialogue on the budget implementation, tracking and oversight. Isaac Jali has a report.
During the dialogue, Speaker of Parliament Samir Suleiman emphasized that the role of members of Parliament is not just to pass the budget, but oversight, to ensure the money delivers development aspirations of Malawians. Samir Suleiman went on to say that Malawi must confront persistent challenges in budget execution, including procurement delays, weak financial management systems, and coordination gaps. He therefore challenged various financial committees of the House to scrutinize how resources are utilized, track alignment between expenditure and approved priorities, while also ensuring that audit findings are not merely noted, but acted upon for accountability purposes.
Corruption is rampant. We don't need to hide about it. And as I said in there, that it is only us that can fix it. No one will come to fix it for us. And we should hold hands together. You have seen the President has given us the guideline to say this is what we should follow. Let's have austerity measures. All that is to make sure that we protect the expenditure of the public purse. And we should all comply with that.
For his part, Elia Zulu of AFIDEP observed that currently Malawi is operating in an increasingly constrained resource environment. Hence, tracking implementation of the budget is vital to ensure Malawians receive what they deserve.
When a budget, like now, the budget is about 11 trillion kwacha. When there are problems that money is not dispersed enough, there are challenges, what ends up happening is that the Treasury does the most cuts on the development budget, and because that's and on service delivery. Because salaries are fixed, a lot of the recurring costs are fixed, our servicing of our public debt is fixed. So in the end, you might find that a budget is given there, but because of these various challenges, not adequate money is there, or sometimes priorities change within the budget. If there isn't adequate discipline to stick to the budget lines, money gets moved to other priorities, and what ends up suffering for the most part is service delivery.
Gordon Matonga is chairperson of MISA and says media too has a crucial role to play in ensuring that duty bearers are held accountable.
For any accountability to take place, there is need for access to information. So access to information is crucial, not only for members of parliament to be able to scrutinize budgets, but it's also crucial for civil society. Media is just one component of civil society. And it's very important that the media is able to access information on behalf of Malawians, but also members of the public themselves are able to access information. That will ensure that there is a transparency and accountability, and budgets are being implemented in a manner that serves the interests of the public.
The dialogue was organized by AFIDEP and the Media Institute of Southern Africa, MISA. Isaac Jali, MBC, Lilongwe.
Government has pledged to take tough action against perpetrators of child abuse, particularly defilement, as such cases remain high. Minister of Gender, Children, Disability and Social Welfare, Mary Navicha, made the remarks in Parliament on Wednesday while presenting a ministerial statement on child sexual abuse. Mike Kalumbi reports.
Speaking in the House, Navicha expressed concern that young girls continue to be subjected to sexual abuse, often by people they know, including close relatives and in some cases their own parents. She assured Parliament that government is implementing a number of measures to protect children, including enforcing stiff penalties against perpetrators. Navicha emphasized that individuals accused of defiling or abusing a child will not be eligible for bail.
And my message to perpetrators is that time for them enjoying having sex with children is over. Wherever they are, whether they are doing it in secret, they should know that the walls have eyes. Whether they are hiding inside this country or outside, we will catch them one day. Whether they have disappeared, one day we'll catch them and they will face stiffer penalty. And my message as well to victims and survivors, I would like to encourage them that we are with them, we believe in them, and we'll be working tirelessly to ensure that they are safe and they get all the support.
The minister says cases of child abuse, particularly involving girls, remain a serious concern in Malawi. Reports indicate that in February and March alone, numerous cases were recorded, with most involving defilement by adult men. Mike Alumbi, MBC News, Parliament.
You're watching MBC News and you are with me, Evelis Jungambe. A reminder of the top stories. Government partners with the diaspora to tackle the country's growing urban housing crisis. The Public Accounts Committee extends the Amaryllis Hotel due inquiry for 1 additional month. And Embassy analyzes how illegal parking and vending is causing traffic congestion in major urban centers across Malawi. Welcome back. Chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee, Stephen Baba Malondera, says the committee has extended its inquiry into the Amaryllis Hotel deal by 1 month. Malondera made the remarks in Parliament on Wednesday while responding to concerns surrounding the committee's report. He said the extension will allow all individuals and stakeholders connected to the issue to appear before the committee. According to Malondera, the move is aimed at ensuring that in the interest of justice, everyone linked to the matter is given an opportunity to be heard before the final report is presented.
Between that day and yesterday, a lot of things have happened. So public accounts is just attending to the cause that have happened in between. So indeed, we are going to extend for a period of 1 month to allow those who did not appear and also to give room to those who are going to be mentioned by the general public and all stakeholders to be given time to come and appear to Public Accounts Committee.
Meanwhile, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament Victor Musowa has stressed that the issue is currently before the committee and should not be debated in the House. In order to contribute towards improving Malawi's preparedness and response to weather-related hazards, the Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Services held a stakeholder mapping and dialogue workshop on impact-based forecasting in Zomba. Director of the department, Lucem Tiratira, said the department wants to ensure that forecasts are translated into timely and effective action. Mercy Zamawa with the details.
Experts say impact of disasters can be prevented when people are aware and prepared. This is why the department is engaging with different stakeholders in weather forecasting, disaster preparedness and response to source efforts on how to improve Malawi's preparedness and response to weather-related hazards through the use of impact-based forecasting, IBF. Director of the Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Services, Lucem Tiratira, said they want to formulate weather forecast messages that trigger action from the community members to be safe.
The impact helps people to prepare well as also to act accordingly, as I said earlier. Because right now, if I just say tomorrow it will be raining, I stop there. it's difficult for one to act on that. But if I go further to say it will rain and there is a possibility of flooding in this area, which can be of this magnitude, then people will be able to act. Apart from just looking at the impact, we'd like also to incorporate issues of social data in this. By social data, we mean issues of vulnerability, exposure of communities or everyone. So we'd like also to include that information in the forecast, so that when you are saying this area is likely to flood, we should be able even to demonstrate how many people are at risk at that point. And the messages that people can trigger action. Otherwise, if we don't put that action in the center of these messages, then we find that the application sometimes is limited.
The meeting also aims at strengthening understanding of IBF and improve coordination among institutions involved in weather forecasting, disaster preparedness and response. Chilungamo Banda from the Department of Water Development in the Ministry of Agriculture said when the weather forecasts are translated into timely and effective action, they help to reduce the impact of disasters.
I, as a representative of the Department of Water Resources, our role is to inform the nation on perhaps like issues to do with rising water levels in various river channels across the country. But impact-based forecasting goes beyond that. It goes a step ahead by informing the vulnerable communities as to what that number or what that rise in water level would do, or the impacts that will have on the communities, say on the livelihood or on the property or infrastructure that is associated in those particular areas. With this initiative, with this workshop, we are, as you may have seen, on one of the key elements or one of the key outcomes of this workshop is to have to do stakeholder mapping. Now, the stakeholder mapping will help us to know who and who is relevant in as far as this IBF initiative is concerned, to ensure that we have a streamlined means of communicating to the vulnerable communities on incoming or impending disasters, so that we can save lives or we can reduce losses that may be created for any sort of disaster, especially weather-related disasters.
Among the stakeholders are representatives from the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, the Malawi Red Cross, the World Food Programme, Department of Water Development in the Ministry of Agriculture, and members of the media. Officials say stronger collaboration among these stakeholders is key to ensuring communities receive accurate information and timely support before weather-related disasters occur in communities. Mercy Zamawa, MBC News, Zomba.
Some roads in Zingwangwa, Mbayani, Ndirande, Chirimba and Bangwe in Blantyre are among those heavily affected by illegal parking and vending, causing traffic congestion in major urban centers across Malawi. Our reporter Effie Ndawala looks at how this issue is being handled in some of the cities.
During morning and evening peak hours, movement becomes difficult and in some cases unsafe. Apart from poor road conditions, some road users say illegal parking and unregulated stopping of public transport vehicles are also contributing to problems resulting in delays and disruption to daily activities. Alex Sumbleta is a resident of Zingwangwa. Sometimes people park along the roads the whole day, forcing minibus drivers to drop passengers anywhere, causing congestion as well. Road Safety Alert Foundation ROSAF says illegal parking and vending is posing a serious threat to both pedestrians and motorists, and has since warned that those found guilty will be penalized.
Parking where pedestrian is supposed to walk is illegal and is not accepted. It causes the possibilities of killing school-going children or elderly people, because you are pushing them out from that pedestrian walkways. Another thing is constructing pedestrian walkways separate from the roads, so that pedestrians with the road, they should not have a parallel walkways. For pedestrians, we would like to advise them to take extra precautions, as the government is trying to look for those solutions, and the city councils, they should also try to see their safety, like putting on the visibility they should be seen, especially in the evening time. They are coming out from businesses, going home to Mbayani and other places. They should be putting on a reflective vest.
But what is Blantyre City Council doing to address the situation? Mayor of the city of Blantyre, Councillor Isaac Jomo Osman, has this to say.
We are putting some measures where there are people they are all controlled. So the only challenge that we have now is about the township. You can see when you go to Zimbabwe, you find by the market, because there's a lot of people who do illegal vending. So by the peak hour, they do businesses on the parking spaces. So that those issues are the one who cause the congestion to be there. So we are trying our best to fix that soon. We want to clean up all these busy places so that there should be no congestion.
There is hope that with planned interventions, congestion will ease and retain improved safety of road users as traffic pressure continues to grow along some of the busiest roads, particularly during peak hours.
Moving on to sports. Sports is more than just a game when it is played with more purpose than just a winning score. It can be a tool of national development. The game of chess is being touted as one such tool in education as well as reformation of inmates and street-connected children. Foster Maulidi has the details.
It may look like just a mere piece on a chessboard, but its move across translates to a significant life-changing step to the community. This is what former Chess Association of Malawi President Susan Namangale found in knights, rooks, queens and kings on a chessboard. Through the Chess for Freedom and Chess for Street-Connected Children Reformation initiatives and her dad's Chess Academy, Namangale has taken chess to prisons and streets to bring and restore hope to the inmates and the kids. Susan says these are not just moves, but a key to unlocking the potential in these inmates and kids.
For me, what is most important is what I do in Malawi and making sure that I take chess to the prison, and I'm happy that the prisoners are now playing international games. I took chess in the streets, so I've got street children that are now playing very good chess. I took chess to the hospital because chess is a tool. Chess can be a tool for therapy.
Patrick Kamwendo, inspector at Maula Prison, says the Chess for Freedom program has been a game changer for inmates' reformation and education, which has contributed to a recent impressive academic performance among the inmates. This is Masamba Gardens at the heart of capital city Lilongwe, a place that has become a cathedral of hope for the street kids, where chess is also being used as a tool for change. Peter Kachapira found the center, and through his collaboration with Dada's Chess Academy initiative, the children are finding the purpose of life from the chessboard.
Since we introduced chess, we have less crime, less people going to the police because they think before they act. I think it's one of the changes that I've noticed. I've seen those kids doing well in class because of chess. Because chess encourages you to think before you make a move.
In a bid to inspire the kids and inmates, Nigeria's Chess World Guinness Record Master Onakoya Tundi toured the centers alongside Gift of Chess International founder Ras Makoski. Tunde says the impact of these initiatives must not be underestimated, calling for adequate support to bridge the gaps in the project.
The tragedy of potential is that potential is nothing if it's not realized, which is why it is entirely up to us, to bridge the opportunity gap so potential can come to its full realization. And I think that is the story of Malawi.
Ministry of Youth and Sports spokesperson Macmillan Mwale hails Namangale for the life-changing programs, saying the ministry will ensure that Malawi sports policy, which is under review, supports such initiatives fully for a wider impact. In 2013, United Nations listed sports among top elements for development and peace through its vast reach, exceptional popularity, and foundation of positive values, just as chess is impacting lives in Malawi and the world. Foster Maulidi, MBC Sport.
And that's it from our newsroom this afternoon. For more, visit Embassy Digital on Facebook, X and Instagram. You've been with me, Evelis Jingambe. Thanks for watching and good afternoon.